continuación, el embajador de Israel.
President, I commend the Security Council on the unanimous adoption of Resolution 2139, demanding that aid be allowed to flow into Syria. That said, passing international resolutions should not be confused with demonstrating international resolve. Winston Churchill famously said, and I quote, "There's no use saying we're doing our best. You've got to succeed in doing what is necessary." End of quote. Mr. President, what began as peaceful protests against an authoritarian regime almost 3 years ago has turned into a brutal and protracted conflict that has claimed over 130,000 lives. Death has become a way of life for the Syrian people. The depth of Bashar Assad's brutality knows no bounds. Not satisfied at having murdered his citizens with chemical weapons, snipers and barrel bombs, the regime is now intentionally blocking medical assistance, food supplies, and other critical aid to people living under siege. There are no safe havens for civilians. The regime is attacking schools, hospitals, and residential neighborhoods. I suppose we shouldn't be surprised. The Syrian regime's murderous rampage is being underwritten by the undertakers of Tehran. The Iranian regime is supplying Syria with the funding, the troops, and the weapons to provoke and prolong the world's worst humanitarian crisis. Iran and Syria have defied every code of morality. One has to ask, how is it possible that in this day and age, starvation and rape are being employed as weapons of war? As a father, I'm haunted by the image of a Syrian father holding up his dead child and crying out in vain for help. As a father, I'm haunted by the knowledge that one day my own children and grandchildren will ask why we didn't do more to help the people of Syria. Countless families have been shattered by violence. Every day I read news stories of desperations and despair. Elderly people wasting away from hunger, pregnant women desperate for medical attention, husbands who have disappeared without a trace, and children traumatized by grotesque violence. I recently read about 2 young brothers, aged 10 and 8, who were playing marbles outside their homes. While they played, a rocket fell in their yard and decapitated the older boy and gravely injured the younger one. When the mother arrived at the local hospital with her surviving son, she was told, "If you want to save your son, you should take him to Israel." Mr. President, doesn't matter where you come from, what faith you belong to, or what politics you preach, no decent human being can ignore the humanitarian tragedy in Syria. The state of Israel and the Jewish people have suffered too much in the past to be indifferent to the suffering of another people today. For this reason, we're one of the few countries providing direct humanitarian aid to the victims of Syrian civil war. Israel is supplying women, children, and elderly in besieged and embattled villages with food and emergency supplies. The IDF has even built a field hospital to save Syrian lives because many victims are so badly injured that they would not survive the trip to the hospital. More than 700 Syrians have received treatment from Israelis, and we continue to extend our hand to assist those in need. Syrians who are normally bitterly divided, Sunnites, Alawites, and Shiites, know that Israel will treat anyone without prejudice and regardless of ethnicity, religion, or gender. Generations of Syrians have grown up being taught that Israel is the enemy, but today many have changed their outlook. One Syrian treated in Israel said, and I quote, "When we saw the Israelis, we realized they were nothing like what we've been told. They're human beings just like us," end of quote. Mr. President, the lesson has come at a terrible price. Every day, the Syrian people wake up and realize that their nightmare is not ended. Every day brings more torment, more torture, and more terror. And every day, more innocent lives are lost. Finally, I would like to thank the Egyptians for distracting attention from a serious humanitarian crisis. Today, they sunk to new lows by raising the issue of the Golan Heights. There's nothing short of absurd for them to suggest that even more innocent citizens be subject to Assad brutality. It's clear that some delegations might reset their moral compass and direct their efforts to providing the Syrian people with real assistance and support. Thank you, Mr. President.
Muchas gracias. A continuación, el embajador de